Welcome everyone and thank you for joining our webinar today, Modernizing Your SAP BI Applications with Geo-Analytics. We'll be joined today by Grigory Botichou from the SAP team. He is one of the product managers here in France for SAP BI focused on web intelligence. Myself, I am Philippe Gaddis, and I'm also joined by one of my colleagues here who is our product manager for our Lumira extension, Vincent Duchandou. For today's webinar, what we're hoping to accomplish is to help you guys understand a little bit more about Geo, who we are, the space that we play in, and really how we tie into the BI suite, with an initial focus obviously around web intelligence and Greg helping walk us through the new features, functionalities that you can take advantage of with Webby. And we'll finish with Vincent, who will actually be providing a beta demonstration of our extension for Lumira 2.0. So there'll be two core topics, two core themes that we'll be exploring, and I'm just going to kick things off here by going through a few slides for the people that don't know who we are to help you understand a bit more about Geo, the space that we play in, and again, the types of use cases and functionality that we typically like to align with. So we're a solution extension partner. We do have certified solutions for the SAP BI suite, meaning that we have extensions for Web Intelligence, Lumira, and Design Studio. Esri is one of our technology partners as well. They are one of the larger GIS systems providers, so we're able to take advantage of a lot of the benefits in that partnership. We have over 300 customers worldwide. We're speaking to you from our headquarters in Paris, France. And Greg is also located in Paris, France, but obviously we do have presence in EMEA and across North America. SAP partners that are on the call, we love to work with SAP partners for various reasons, in particular due to the Solex aspect of the partnership and you being able to position licenses to your customers and services as well to support them in the projects. I do from here want to speak to some of the customers that we see in the different industries. Obviously, we're a relatively horizontal solution, meaning that we can pretty much support any vertical that has a use case requiring a map with advanced functionality. For today's demonstration, what we had planned was to do a focus on three core, we'll call them verticals, that have come to us recently with similar types of use cases that we can call trends that we're seeing from our end. Retail and distribution that are looking to incorporate different flows that are showing where a specific parcel, where a package may be at a given point in time, or showing the different shipments that they may have made to their distributors, to their shops. And state and local and federal government, we're seeing quite a bit there, especially when it comes to local government with smart city projects. Different types of use cases, different types of benefits, but ultimately helping them understand a bit more on how to manage the actual city itself with maps. So in the Webby extension, there's going to be three core things that we're going to speak to. Multi-maps, so being able to incorporate multiple maps in a specific operational report that can speak with the Webby outputs that you created with Webby. Territory design is going to let you manage your custom territories and change them directly from the Webby environment. And obviously, something that's also going to be relevant for Lumira and Design Studio, there is now a more enriched catalog that you can take advantage of that has defined geopolitical boundaries, cities, regions, states, postal codes, and major countries across the world, not just in North America. So the two use cases that I'm going to present today in Webby will try to align as much as possible with some of these core features that we have announced in the market with this version that aligns with the newer version of Web Intelligence. Very similarly with Lumira, what we really wanted to focus today on was three core aspects, which are really going to be around a more enhanced motion maps or a more enhanced time series option. You're also going to have the ability, as we just discussed, with some of the use cases to start taking advantage of flows and seeing how you can start supporting the use cases if you're in logistics, if you're in distribution and retail, where you need to show either your customers, your partners, your resellers, your wholesalers, your distributors, where these shipments are being made, with what frequency, with what products, and really lets users customize that experience itself. I can say that probably Vincent will definitely go in this, and this is probably one of the more exciting pieces with the Lumira 2.0 version that we'll be providing. We are incorporating a geocoding module in the actual Lumira environment with our extension. And the benefit that's going to bring you is it's going to enable you to ultimately transform on the fly your street addresses into a lat long or into an X and Y that can directly be correlated onto a map itself. I see that being as a hurdle in certain use cases to help get started with these projects. You have your physicians, you have your patients, but you only have street addresses. How can we see where our patient network is to balance ultimately where the patients and physicians are located based on the coverage that we're providing? How can we start adding some of the new retailers that we're working with into the mix? So these new functions are going to let you ultimately manage more of these steps, all from the SAP BI environment, exactly which is the core focus of Galileo in general. Vincent will be speaking to that in the second piece of the call, but as mentioned, at this point, I do want to introduce Greg from SAP France, who's going to be focusing on web intelligence in particular before transitioning into the actual Galileo extensions. With that, Greg, I want to pass you the floor.
Yes, of course. Welcome, everyone. I'm really happy to be with you today and for being invited by Galileo to share with you the latest innovations that you can all get your hands on regarding SAP BusinessObjects Web Intelligence. So I hope you can all see my screen now. Confirm me if it is the case, please.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So let's go on. So let's say that the purpose is not to do an entire session on Webby, but at least for the next 10 minutes, to share with you the recent innovations we delivered in Web Intelligence, specifically in the area of visualization. And for this specific area, you will notice that we did some quite substantial effort to place you in different areas of the product. So let's start and move on. First of all, because today we're going to discuss Webby, but also get a short preview of the innovations that Galileo can deliver for you for Lumira as well. Just two slides regarding the positioning. So today at SAP, we position our SAP Analytics tools in two buckets. Let's say that you have the dashboard and applications and the reporting. And of course, Web Intelligence stands for all the things related to reporting, and Lumira 2.0 concerns everything that you want to achieve regarding data exploration and applications. Regarding Web Intelligence, so Web Intelligence stands for Adobe Query and Interactive Reporting. It is a mature product. I think the first release was in around the year 2000, so it has many customers and many of course capabilities. Its main strength is to deliver for your company and all your departments any type of reporting, but its usage can go beyond reporting if you know how the tool is working. So this is a list of the main things you can achieve with Webby. So you can access all data sources, of course. It provides you all the flexibility to create and share any type of reporting. When you create a report, it can be more than a simple PDF file. It doesn't have to be static. You can provide some guided analysis for your end users. And last but not least, Web Intelligence work connected, we call this online, and of course disconnected offline. Imagine that you share a Webby document, you can take the Webby report and continue to work on it, analyze it, being completely disconnected wherever you are. And moreover, every Webby document can be mobilized on your favorite device, iPad, iPhone, Android phone, whatever. So it works. What did we do recently? So we have increased the pace of innovations inside Webby. So this is the things we delivered in further to SP2. You might notice that we have added many things that concern different areas and different personas. For the IT, we have delivered things such as the parallel queries executions. For the business users, we have delivered new things in the area of collaborations, such as commentary and shared element. Shared element is an easy way to share some kind of report part, and of course we did not forget our customers using SAP. We have increased the area of things for 4.2 SP3. It was 1 year ago. For example, now in starting SP3, you can stop to use a Java applet and go directly with the HTML. And last August, we delivered the Service Pack 4, where inside of it you will, last August, 3 weeks ago, we delivered the Service Pack 4, where we have added new things in the area of visualization. So let's start with the first one. For example, in SP4, we have delivered a new interface. The new interface concerns the BI Launchpad and the web intelligence as well. So inside the new BI Launchpad, you will find the new web interface. This is the one that will be displayed on your screen in a few seconds. So this is the new web intelligence interface for your end user. So this is a new web intelligence interactive viewer. As you can see, we changed a lot of things. So first of all, the interface is in HTML5, which means that it works on any modern devices such as Surface Pro, Surface, iPad, and of course your favorite smartphone. Which means that you can use your finger to play with the two. So that's what I'm doing currently. You can use the gesture to do the in, the out, and the swipe to go to the next page. We wanted to fix a few things. For example, this is the report number 1. So in the past, you have to go to different tabs, but now, thanks to the drop-down list, you can go directly to the report number 5, for example. So this is a web intelligence document. I forgot to mention, but only the interface is new. All your existing web document can be opened using this new interactive viewer. With additional things, of course, such as some quick button to ease the reading of the web document or the zoom in, zoom out, thanks to what you name this, the vanishing toolbar at the bottom. We have, of course, an easy way to access the sections and to go from one section to another one. And another thing we did, and this concerns also the usability, this is the fact that in Webby we have different filtering concepts. So we have input controls, drill up, drill down, the drill bar, element linking, and so on and so on. Many different types of filtering concepts that in the actual interface are located in different places. For example, input controls on the left and the drill bar at the top. Starting SP4 with this new interactive viewer, everything is under one button, this filter button, and from there the end user will access the different filtering concepts such as the filter on the query, the prompts, here it is, the different input controls. So, and you try to materialize the effect of the different input control on the document, such as this icon means that this input control will work for the entire document, and on the opposite, this icon, this one, will mean that this input control will work only for the actual report being displayed. So we try to fix these kind of things, and last but not least, we added what we call interactive analysis, which means that when the end user will want to do something more that the actual reader allows him to do, now by clicking on this interactive analysis button, he will be able to select directly a block and to do some kind of sorting and ranking immediately into the interactive viewer without the need to provide the designer. So we delivered in SP4 this kind of things for your end user. Last thing to mention regarding this new interface, this is an option. So in SP4, either you decide to continue to use the actual reader, and the actual BI Launchpad, this one, or you can decide to propose the new interface, this one. It's just a matter to provide a different URL, that's all. So, but in SP4, we have added also new things. I'm going to show you. So this is my Web Intelligence document. If I go to this report, we wanted to allow the end user to provide greater things with Webby in the area of visualization. So to achieve this, we have added new viz type in Webby, such as, I'm going to show you this quickly. We have added some new gauges, such as this one. There we go. Oh, small mismatch. Some as well, some linear gauges. Or speedometer, such as this one. So these new type of visualization are provided by default starting Service Pack 4. And you have added also new tile, static tile, to display nicely a specific KPI, a revenue, for example, with many options that will help you to customize the look and feel of the tile. And dynamic tile. By dynamic, you understand that in this case, the tile is calculated on the fly and I can show the trend. If it is positive, the arrow will go up. If it is negative, of course, the arrow will point down. Here it is. In this case, you have also many options to customize the tiles. Last but not least, so this is not a new innovation in SP4. We have delivered this new innovation in 4.2 SP2. We name this, let me show you, let me add a new report. We name this custom element, or if you prefer, viz extension. So I'm pretty sure you might have faced a situation where for a specific use case, Webby does not contain the appropriate visualization. So in this case, starting 4.2 SP2, and of course in SP3 and SP4, you can go and look for specific viz, for specific use case in your favorite website, such as d3.js.org, and from there look at all the visualization this website proposes you. So you get a very big list of new viz you can propose to your end user based on their needs. For example, you would like to build a new viz using these bullet charts. So you show this to your favorite developer or partner. The good thing is he will be able to get the code associated to this viz. He will take the code, build what we call a new viz extension, develop the viz extensions for Web Intelligence, declare the viz extensions into the CMC, and once this is done, every end user or power user, if you prefer, in the design mode, will be able to access the new viz via this new entry, insert custom elements, and from there, into the list of available charts proposed by Webby by default, you will find the gauge, you will find the tile as well. You will get the new viz here as part of the default chart. So for the end user, it's quite simple. The developer develops the viz extension, the end user consumes the new viz as if it was a default chart. So it's quite easy to use. You just have to select the new viz. This one, for example, the bullet chart. You will have to do the selection of dimension and measure, such as what I'm doing now. Let's say scroll one, and done. So this technology is really flexible, so you can import in Webby any viz library that you want, and this is effectively this technology that Galileo has leveraged to propose you new things in the area of Geo-Analytics. And I'm pretty sure now they will show you what they've delivered for Webby as well and for Lumira as well. So thank you for your attention. You will get all the service, all the details. So Galileo teams, it's up to you now.
Thank you very much, Greg. Very cool features, very exciting stuff that seems to be coming out here from the SAP side. So ultimately what we wanted to do here is take control. So I'm going to take back control here. Greg, can you stop sharing from your end, please, so I can take control? Perfect. Perfect. So I just wanted to go through a couple applications here that will highlight some of these things that Greg just talked about, but more importantly, we'll focus on now expanding some of the geo capabilities and some of these existing Webby environments or Webby reports that you might have in place. So I'm going to do it more from a user perspective. You can imagine here, if you have access to the platform, that you're going to ultimately be able to see different types of reports, whether it's Webby reports, Lumira stories, Design Studio dashboards, you name it. So to get started here, I'm going to go through maybe a few Webby use cases. And we spoke to different types of new features with Webby that are now available in this version that I ultimately am going to highlight. But I'm also going to give you more of a tour of how you can think about using this and, more importantly, how you can get started with these extensions. So a map is going to be integrated directly into one of these traditional reports that you created within Webby. Users are going to have all of the similar controls that they typically can expect on a map. They're going to have their legend. Of course, that legend can be interactive. They can click, they can filter, include or exclude points directly from just a few clicks. They're going to have their zoom in, their zoom out options. And of course, they're going to have their main menu, which is going to be on the left-hand side. That's going to expose different content, which we call layers, that users can pretty much toggle on and off on the fly. It's going to expose different selection tools for them to extract information from the map. Obviously, they're going to have a whole choice of different types of base maps that they can pretty much click and pick from on the fly. And the ability to animate that we mentioned, your maps with motion, with pretty much time series, and a few additional options here that are going to enable you to bring in your own territories, configure your territories, and connect to the different data sources on the SAP backend. Ultimately, what we wanted to do here is show different types of functionality that users can do. And immediately on the fly, we can see that they can come in and they can pick different types of visualizations. They can add labels to the map itself, and they can even edit content on the fly. In this case here, if we're looking at total releases, and if we want to ultimately maybe be able to edit this layer, if we don't like some of the colors or something that we saw there, we can very easily come down to our query and we can pretty much see what we're doing, and we can customize very easily in this wizard how we want the look and feel to be. So very similar for Webby. Users are going to have that starting point. They're going to have that managed environment, but they can then start making changes on the fly to what's already been presented to them, and also add new content as well on the map depending on what it is that they want to represent. They go through a very similar query as well here too, where they're pretty much going to pick a layer, they can pick symbols, and they're ultimately going to be able to apply that information directly on the map itself. Additional things that we should be thinking about here when going through some of these exercises, I want to illustrate some of the functionality a little bit more in this specific example, just because you're going to have a little bit more of a rich, I guess, functionality in this demonstration. It's that retail use case. It's a store here in the south of France. Some of you may be aware of it, and I'm going to take some of these off so you can see pretty much where our starting point is. We have one store, which is Yokohama, and we're trying to understand where our clients are, where our revenue is coming from, where our competition is, and maybe also include additional types of information around population or census information. So we can start making more effective decisions on where we could possibly open up our next branch. And all this information is something that the organization has available. They can start seeing their competitors directly on the map. They can also include different types of things that indicate at these competitor locations how large the store surface is itself. So the larger stores are going to be represented with a larger circle, and vice versa, the smaller ones with smaller. Obviously, you can represent this more with a heat map or more with additional types of visualizations. You're in complete control of how you want to do that. For the time being, I'm going to switch that off, and we'll leave it by logos. Additional information can be shared now around the actual stores themselves. You can start getting information around both two core indicators. One is going to be how frequently
you're doing transactions in these different regions. And you can see here as we add these layers, which are typically custom layers, these represent how many times somebody has checked an item out in a specific line at that store. You can obviously customize these, you can tweak ranges on the fly, you can do whatever you want to make it represented in the way that you want. And additionally, the other KPI that we want to see is how much revenue we're generating at each one of these locations. And again, you can see that they're represented in purple dots for the time being, but you can easily come in, you can edit that information, and you can just go through this wizard to ultimately do that on the fly. I won't do that for demo purposes. Change these more to a heat map if you'd like. You're in complete control, as I said, as a user of how you want to represent this information. So once we have some of this initial insight, what is it that we want to do? We want to start extracting maybe some of these insights, and we have different tools to do that, whether it's a free-form selection that lets you pretty much come on the map and pretty much draw a figure to extract all the points that are ultimately going to fall within that specific selection. If I X this out, actually we'll have a bit more room. You can obviously export this to CSV, or you can drill into what we call a geo report, which is pretty much going to give you the underlying information behind the selection that you just did. It can be a data table, it can be another pretty much operational report that can have visualizations, that can be highly interactive, just like what we saw Greg doing. So other selection tools can be a little bit more advanced. For the GalaGeo, I guess, users that are familiar with this, you have other tools like drive time, obviously, or ISA distance that let you pretty much extract information on the map based on either a time or a distance. So here, if we come in and we place a point on our store and we want to see all of our customers ultimately that may be located within an hour driving distance, you're able to easily now see this, which is traced in this blue line on the map. And exactly the same way that we saw with the freeform selection, we do have a selection that's made available for users then to be able to manipulate, to extract information on the fly itself. You can either drill in that way, you can export it to CSV, and so on. With multi-maps, what's neat is you can have the ability to have maps that either act as a standalone, so it could be linked to one specific data set, and this map could be linked to a completely different data set altogether. And seeing these different maps, you could then link one of these specific, we'll call it a line chart or a bar chart, to a configuring map and make that association on the fly. Maps are going to give you all the information that you have in your backend environment. So anything that's related to this specific store, this marque, you can see here. So this is Pico Rama, it's located here in this province. You have the store number and so on and so on. You have all the information that you need to ultimately understand who this customer is or who this specific location is. We mentioned motion maps. Obviously, you can pick these different things to see on the fly. Here you may have one that's already configured, or you can create a different animation with this simple query. So you could do something that's looking at the different, let me see if I can do something here. You can create one of these on the fly, and then you can share these with the different users to ultimately animate as well too. And then you can come in, you can pick which one you want to use to ultimately animate the map with, and it's very easy just to push play and see the values change on the fly. You can pause it at any point in time, and once that's paused, you can do all the additional things that we did earlier on to ultimately select or extract information that you need from the map itself. The final piece here that I did ultimately want to show before really transitioning more into providing you guys with an initial beta is helping you understand this notion of enriched geocatalog and what GalaGeo is doing to make some of this integration a little bit easier for the users. In Webby, we saw toggling base maps on the fly. In Lemira, we're going to have some of these same types of functions as well too. The GalaGeo Manager piece is where you're going to be able to start finding this catalog of information that I mentioned. And here are some of the countries for which you can come in and that you can find some, we'll call it geopolitical, I guess, location information. So this is standard information, but it's very rich. So you're going to have all the information, all cities, all provinces, regions, whatever some of the more traditional geopolitical boundaries are. You can come in and see this in these different countries around the world today. But the point of Manager is not only to set your base maps, it's to ultimately add geodata and enrich this catalog with your own custom geo layers. So if you're looking at Belgium railways, you can pretty much come in and You can see all the Belgium railways if we made a connection, and you can ultimately correlate this to then be able to see in Webby, in Lumira, whatever SAP BI solution you might be in. Adding geodata is very easy, very quick. We mentioned a few different types of files. You make a link to any one of these different types of sources, and you can then start being able to see this in the catalog. We mentioned base maps. We saw some in Webby. You have the ability to control these base maps and to control ultimately how you want users to see information in the map. Some of these base maps come from Esri, others come from OpenStreetMaps, and we even have other ones even for different regions of the world that may align specifically for a specific region. But again, just like what we saw with the geo layers and the geo catalog that you can create, you can also create your catalog of base maps. That could be a custom base map that aligns with your business that you've created, where you've already localized assets, and not have to recreate the wheel directly within another solution. So with that, again, if you are interested in learning more about our Webby extension, and if you are obviously interested in learning more about Webby in general and where SAP is going, you will have our contact information at the end, both Gregory and myself and Vincent. But Vincent, I will now invite you to take control and to share with the group present here a preview of our Lumira Beta 2.0.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. So I'm going to quickly open the Lumira pieces right now. So I'm going to start with the first use case, which is, I would say, a trendy use case. That talks about smart cities. So you should be able to see right now the Lumira discovery screen. So of course, Lumira is not generally available. Lumira 2.0 for the time being, but we already have an extension working on it, and this is what we are going to show right now. So we are going to focus more on the Lumira discovery pieces, which is more the, I would say, the business analyst type of software where you drag and drop your dimension to create your visualization and to create your reports. And of course, we have also a solution for Lumira Designer, which will be more the traditional application designer mode, where you have interoperability between the two. So we will more focus on Lumira Discovery, but the extension is also working on Lumira Designer as well. Okay, so I'm going to start right now. I'm just checking if you see the screen right now. Okay, so the dataset there takes place in Dubai, the city of Dubai. So we are going to analyze smart sensors in the city of Dubai. So I've created a nice story page already, a nice dashboard, and there I want to focus on energy consumption. So I'm going to enlarge the map so it will be easier for you to see what I'm doing to create my visualization. In the dataset, I have information about latitude and longitude of all my sensors. So they are geolocalized, and I have access to this information directly in the dataset. So I can just drag and drop my latitude and longitude dimension, like I'm doing right now, and automatically it's going to be mapped. And you see heat map displayed by default. So there I have a first overview of the density of my sensor. So where are they located? Are there locations? Are there areas where I have more sensor than the others, etc. And you see that I access such visualization just by drag and dropping two dimensions, so the latitude and the longitude. So there I'm highlighting the areas where I have more sensors. And I can also drag, for example, the consumption, so the energy consumptions right there. I've dragged the KPI. And so instead of seeing a heat map right now, I see proportional symbols. So the biggest is the symbol, the more consumption there is for the given sensor. And you can see something nice as well when I hover the sensor. I can directly access the BI information just by hovering it. Of course, I can switch visualization. If I'm not happy with proportional symbols, I can switch to class breaks if I want, or if I I can switch back as well to heat map. So there, the heat map is not by density, but is by watt consumption. So my KPI is applied to the heat map, and so I see that the areas are not quite the same, and I can focus specifically on the areas where I have the more consumption of devices. Something I can do as well is, for each devices, they are located on the streets, and I have this information about the streets. So then I'm also able to represent my KPI on the street segment. So I've just dragged the street segment information, and because this dimension can be represented spatially, I'm able to see that on the Geo for Lumira discovery piece right there. And so you see that you still have the same KPI, the watt consumption, but it's aggregated there to the different street segments. And so you can have mixed information. So you have aggregated views of your devices, or you can also switch back to proportional symbols, and you have underneath the KPI aggregated to street segments. So it can give you two different overviews on the map. And by dragging, for example, the type, I can segment my devices by category. So there, what I've done is I've dragged in the dimension containing the types of categories. So is it a public lighting? Is it a traffic light, etc.? And so you see different colors on the map. So you can have an overview there. You can have an overview of the different types. You can, of course, customize the colors on the map like I'm doing right now. And what is interesting is that you see that it's really self-service. You drag and you drop the dimension, then you can control everything from the legend. You do not leave the Lumira environment to create your visualization, and you can create a pretty nice view of your data, of your location data, just based there on on your BI dimension combined with location data. And so you can have a pretty nice view, and this is what it can look like at the end when you are finally back there on the dashboards. You can have a nice view. Of course, everything is bidirectional. You have charts, you have maps. You can filter the map to filter the charts, and vice versa. And so you see that regarding the smart city use case, you can create a pretty nice view of your data and answer this use case with our extension by combining, in our example, latitude, longitude with street segments in order to have different views of our data and of our KPI, and to see the difference of energy consumption. I'm going to switch directly to the second use case, which there will be more about logistics and supply chain. So we have seen more and more use case about logistics and supply chain, like I was saying. So I'm just checking right there. Okay, you see the screen. And so there, what I'm going to do is to analyze the shipments between the manufacturers and the different stores and customers that it sends the products to. So I'm just going to start the demonstration right now. So the same as smart cities, I have already created a dashboard right there. When you see I've put some heat map on the left and some charts, and I also have the maps. So I'm going to expand it again. So you see the way I drag the dimensions, etc. So what we are going to do first, so I'm just going to bind the dataset to this visualization, and we are going to focus on the three core areas, so the three core distribution centers there that ship products across all the US. And so it ships product to the different stores and customers. So you see that the distribution centers are in California, Texas, and New York. So the first thing I can do is start dragging the unit price. So you see the amount of products and in terms of revenue that are sent from this department. And now I can drag the ship to zip dimension, and it's going to create nice visualization of flows between my distribution centers, which are based on the state code, and the different stores and customers there that are aggregated by zip. And so you can see you can have a nice view of your data, and it's really easy the way it works. It's exactly like I've shown in the smart city example. It's just drag and drop, and the Galileo extension is able to analyze the data set and choose the best fit visualization regarding what you want to see on the map. So you see in terms of performance, clearly it's not too bad, because there we have something like 8,000 flows displayed on the map, and it's pretty fluid when I zoom in, etc. I can zoom in, for example, on a specific distribution center to see the different KPI that are applied, and you see that the flows are different colors. I'm just trying to change one, for example. I click there on the okay, though it was not the best that I've chosen, but you can of course customize the different colors of the flows. So there the colors indicate the different unit price, so the indicator we have dragged. And so you see the redder, so there the greener is the flows, meaning that the more unit price we have sent, sorry, from the distribution center to the customer or to the store. And everything remains interactive. You can zoom in, pan in, etc. On the map, even when you have a lot of information there. So maybe one thing that you want to do is also, like I did with the smart cities, to segment the different flows right there, the different shipments. And so we are going to use the states of origin. And so you see right there that instead of seeing colors for the KPI, we see a different colors for the state of origin. So there, for example, if the shipment is going from California, it's shown in red. From New York, it's green, and Texas is blue. And there, the KPI, the unit price, is displayed. This is the size, the weight of the line that is displaying the unit price. So there, I've zoomed on an example where you can see a line that is bigger than the others. That means that the unit price for this line is bigger as well. So you can mix, you can segment there your flows on the map, so your shipment, and still being able to display a KPI on top of it that will be the size. That will be the size of the stroke of the flows. And so, as you can see, there is no, I would say, there is no shortcuts on what I'm showing. This is really the smart mapping engine there that powers the Galileo extension that lets your users focus on what really matter for them. And so, in this case, focus on their business and analyze the shipments. For example, is there a distribution center that sends more shipments or sends shipments to the wrong places, the wrong areas? Is in competition with another distribution center, etc., etc. And you can see this on the map really easily by just drag and dropping your dimension, and the map takes care of the rest. And as you can see, it's really responsive. You drag the KPI, it shows the KPI. You segment by your category, it shows the different categories, etc. And so you can really, you do not spend too much time into configuring the layers, into saying, okay, I want to see this color, this size of lines, etc., etc. That the use case is really to go fast and to get insights really easily without having a prior knowledge in geomapping in particular. So this was it for the logistic use case. I see I have perhaps 5 more minutes. I can show the last use case, which there will be more on the showcasing a new cool feature, which is the geocoding. Not only the geocoding, also the on-the-fly geocoding. And by geocoding, I mean you have addresses in your databases, so you know where your customers are located. You know that they live in these addresses, but you have a problem. You cannot see them on the map. You cannot see them on the map because when you drag your addresses, basically the map does not know where the addresses are located, and this is something that we have addressed in the new version of Lumira 2.0, of Galileo for Lumira 2.0. is the possibility to geocode on the fly your addresses, and so to display KPI on top of your addresses, etc. So I'm going to show that right now. Going to open my geocoding samples. So there we have a use case. Let's say that we have an online retailer that has that sold product to different customers, but all he has in the addresses in his BI data are the addresses. So there I'm just showing a quick view of the data, sorry, so you can see how it looks like, and you see that there is nothing like X and Y coordinates. All we have is address there. So we have the street names, the region, and the country of each customers. And so the way that is going to work is there just by drag and dropping my address dimension. The Geocoding Lumira will detect that it can be geocoded, and it will geocode the address on the fly. So this is what I'm just doing right now, dragging the address, and you can see at the bottom of the map the percent of address that are being geocoded, and you see them appearing on the fly on the map as they are geocoded. And there is no, this is not accelerated right now. This is the real the real process in real time that you can see right there. So it's pretty, I would say, pretty powerful because it geocoded something like about 900 addresses in less than 20 seconds, which is I think pretty good when it comes to live geocoding. And of course, when the addresses are geocoded, you can map any KPI. So they have just dragged the revenue. So you can see based just on the address at the beginning, you know, have X and Y coordinates there, and so the points are shown on the map, and you can display any KPI on top of it. So there we see the revenue. And so when you have this between your hands, then you can do the analysis you want and leverage all the functionalities of Lumira 2.0, and it behaves like if you had X and Y coordinates at the beginning. So for example, I have date information. I can drag my date information, and I will be able to do time series of my data just there by selecting on the left menu the date dimension. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to select the date dimension, and so the date just represents different years, but you see years after years the evolution of revenue per customers, and there just by selecting the dimension from the visualization, you are able to see your data over time, over a certain period of time. And there I have selected the years, but of course I could have day by day or month by month or specific addresses or hours, etc. It's really regarding what you have available in your data. And you see that it's quite easy to use. Of course, you can pause the animator, you can play with the visualization, you can resume the time series, etc. You can still keep on zooming, etc. during the time series. So it's quite easy to use. And I think that everything that I've shown lets you clearly shows that the extension is quite easy to use. It requires no prior knowledge into geomapping, and I would say it's the same philosophy that Lumira Discovery is based on drag and drop. You drag and drop the dimension, and then the map tries to react to what you provide in terms of data and to show what's relevant for you on the map to let you focus on your business and on your analysis. So it will be it for the demonstration. We are going quickly to switch back to the end of the presentation. And of course, if you have more questions regarding, and of course, if you have more presentation, more questions regarding what I've shown in Lumira, feel free to reach out to us, and we will show just right now the different contacts. Philippe,
Vincent, thank you very much for the preview. Looks very exciting. A lot of neat features that we also will be doing some additional videos that will be on our YouTube channel. If you are part of the beta program with SAP already for Lumira 2.0, please contact myself and Olivia that you can see on the bottom of this slide here via email, and we'll figure out how we can get you engaged in our beta program. Of course, the Webby trial, the Webby download is available for 4.2.sp3. You can access that today, and we're more than happy to help guide you through a trial on either one of these GeoGeo for SAP BI tools. If you have older versions of Webby, we do have older versions that do align with the older Webby versions as well if you are not on the latest build, so that won't be something that ultimately prohibits you from seeing how you can enhance geo capabilities within any of these tools. At this point, again, we thank everyone who joined the call today, and feel free to ask any final questions if you do have any in the chat, and we'll save the last couple of minutes here to answer any questions you might have. Greg, and thank you, of course.
Thank you, yes.
Okay. And with that, everyone, we do appreciate everyone's time. We will follow up with the individuals that joined this presentation, and of course, please reach out to either myself or Olivia that you do see on this final slide if you are interested in participating in any of these programs. Have a good day, everyone.
Hello.